continuing on with the restoration, but yeah, I've just put a new master cylinder on the car and getting ready to flush all the old brake fluid out. But yeah, I guess, yeah, this is apparently on this Corvette, this has never been done. Yeah, this is mud down on the bottom of the master cylinder here, so apparently this has never been done. Yeah, so it will be done now. Continuing on with the restoration here. Yeah, I noticed a lot of brake fluid leaking down below the master cylinder, so I ordered a new master cylinder. The thing about it, I didn't notice a lot of brake fluid down below the booster, so I had a suspicion that it might have been going into the leaking into the side of the brake booster, and took the check valve off, checked the check valve out. In fact, it is brake fluid is inside the brake booster. Yeah, the first thing I did was I loosened everything up. Make sure that I used flare nut wrenches, because the last thing you want to do is round off one of these flare nuts. Then you'll end up having to replace the entire line. I loosened up this pressure switch. This is a pressure switch that senses pressure difference between the front and rear zones. Be careful with this. They don't make them anymore, it's obsolete. I don't even know if this one works right now, I haven't tested it. And I loosened up these mounting bolts that go to the brake booster. I wanted to be sure that everything was loose and was going to come off easily. And you've also got one on the bottom down here, so yeah, so make sure everything's loose. And then you can go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and take everything off now. I was going to say, trying to hold the camera, be very careful with this pressure switch. It's plastic and it also has a spring, so don't just unscrew it, it'll just pop right, it just pushes right out. It's got a little spring on it. You don't want to lose any of these parts in case you have to reuse it. But yeah, be careful with this. If you strip it out, it's just over. Like I say, it's obsolete. Just set it aside. I brought this pressure switch inside and just cleaned it up. This was pretty fairly corroded here, and cleaned it up with some electrical cleaner, contact cleaner. Hopefully I can test this and it'll work. Otherwise, I don't know. Put it back on there and disconnect it. There is no replacement for this. I've looked. So, but anyway, when you're taking this out of you're going to have to take this one out of your old master cylinder and reuse it in your new master cylinder, because again, they don't make it. And after you get everything loose, it just pretty much just comes right off. Yeah, I was just getting ready to bench bleed this master cylinder I just bought. It comes with a Comes with a bleed kit. Anyway, I also had an old Dorman, but it comes with this black hose, which I didn't like, so I went in and I had some extra tube, clear tube. That way when you're plunging the plunger, you can see the air bubbles coming through. The Dorman kit that you can order online has a lot of various style, different size fittings. But the fittings on this 84 Corvette master cylinder, these are metric. Yeah, I'm not gonna make an entire video on bench bleeding master cylinder, because there's some really good videos on YouTube. The guys are really put a lot of time and effort into them, so there's no need in me doing that. But I just use an old screwdriver. I put this in a grinder so it isn't sharp. The only thing I can tell you what I did is when I push this in, I do it very, very slow. Fill the reservoirs up all the way to the top. Put the tubes so the tubes are all the way down the bottom. Well, like I say, when I push the piston in, I just do it very slowly. Yes, after you get the master cylinder bench bled, it's just a matter of bolting it back up. I left the mounting nuts very loose, so the cylinder is a little bit loose. It made it easier to kind of jiggle it around to get these flare nuts lined up in there. I did everything finger tight first. Don't forget you've got the one on the bottom. Don't forget the pressure switch needs to be hooked back up. And other than that, it's a pretty straightforward job. The mounting nuts here are torqued down to about 20 foot-pounds of torque. It says between 16 and 25, but I just went ahead and went with 20. And then you have to get all this mounted up. Of course, you have to bleed the brake system, and that's there's so many YouTube videos out there showing how to bleed the brakes. It's pretty straightforward. This master cylinder here has an integrated proportioning valve that separates the front and the rear brakes.